Shalom, 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 shalom. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. Blessings to you all. Shalom on this great, wonderful day. This is definitely a subject of conversation that I think is, hey, what's going on? Shalom, Sister Rose. What's going on? This is definitely going to be an interesting topic and discussion. I don't think it's going to take long to deal with, but I think it's a very constant conversation is very important that needs to be had and discussed. And so I think that many people, especially within the realms of the only areas of contention within the Christian world, on this particular subject is the Jehovah's Witness, who have used certain scriptures to justify their position of why they don't celebrate birthdays. And so we're going to get into looking at some things. And then on the Hebraic side, as Israelites, there's a lot of preferably the camps that are out here who teach. If you guys hear airplane flying by, I live by the airport. If you hear it, preferably teach that celebrating birthdays is a form of idolatry, and whatnot. And then also you see within the Western Christian perspective, many of them who do celebrate Christmas, not Christmas, but birthdays, it's a free-for-all, and in their celebrating of their birthdays, many of them go as far as having strippers and all this other stuff, meanwhile call themselves Christian. That's a whole nother conversation. And so I think that we need to look at these things and really get a perspective and understanding of, is it biblical? This is the question that we have to ask ourselves. Everybody has an opinion about certain things and whatnot. And one of the biggest things that I see, especially within our community, is oftentimes there is a lot of eisegeting or injecting things. Hey, Auntie Evelyn, adding things to the Bible that the Most High never said. And so we accuse a lot of people of doing this, but even ourselves within Israel, we do the same thing. I always tell people your personal preference. What's going on, Brother Casey? I always tell people your personal preference cannot supersede the scriptures. Whatever your personal preference is, if it cannot be found in the Bible, if it can't be found in the Torah, if it cannot be found in the Tanakh, if it cannot be found in the Gospels, if it cannot be found in any of the letters that was written by any of the apostles, then that's just your opinion. And we have to understand that opinions does not trump scripture. So when we begin to look at this, the first question that we need to ask people who give their perspective on it, we need to ask people, is it in Torah? Because that's the foundation. That's what we live by. As far as that's our code of conduct and how we conduct ourselves. That is the blueprint of showing us how to live as a community, how to worship the Most High. All of these things are found within the Torah. And I haven't seen anywhere in the Torah that says specifically. Now, we know that if the Most High wants us to conduct ourselves a certain kind of way, and he knows in his foreknowledge that Israel is going to do things that men of his creation, along with Israel, are going to do things. The Most High has everything that we need within his Torah. He tells us what to eat. He tells us how to love each other. He tells us how to love him. He tells us how to do all of these things. He tells us how we're to treat our children, the investments we're supposed to leave our children. All of these things, and yet nowhere in the text, nowhere in the Torah does it say that if you celebrate a birthday or birthday celebrations, it's wicked, it's idolatrous. Now, people within our community have added the idolatry to it, and we're going to look and see what idolatry is. We have several clues, or we have several teachings and stories and remembrances of what idolatry was, because we've been into captivity so many times. And oftentimes, matter of fact, one of the first things that we did when we came out of Egypt was idolatry. Create a golden calf and start bowing to it, or elevating it above the oral word of the Most High, or the written word of him, or his essence and his presence. These are the things that we fail to realize, is that that's when things become idolatrous. For example, money is not evil. The Bible clearly tells us and teaches that the love of it, why? Because the love of it, it becomes idolatrous. The money itself isn't evil. Thanking the Most High for being born and seeing another year, because the more years you have, the more time you have to honor him. Celebrating a birthday and giving thanks and gathering with people who are giving also thanks to the Most High for your birth and your living to see another year to worship him is not idolatrous, because you're not putting it above the Most High, nor are you bowing to anybody, because none of us have the authority of God. None of us has the authority of Yah. None of us are deities. And the last I checked, none of us was a part of the Godhead. So none of us can deserve honor and worship that the Most High does by being the creator. And this is the issue that people have with Yeshua. They have an issue with him because people gave honor to who he was because of his authority. But they will honor and make an idol out of Moshe. They will honor David to that level of capacity where they say that David is going to be their deliverer. He's going to be reincarnated or wake up and he's going to come back and deliver them. But they won't give Yeshua that type of honor. That becomes idolatry. All throughout the scripture, Most High say, look, do not create these things and bow to them, because they are adulterous. Now, there was nowhere in the text or in the Torah that says to have a birthday, honor or remember your birthday. So there's nowhere against and there's nowhere for. That's not a gray area. That's just the facts. So the Most High look at everything that we do. Jobs, it's not bad to have a job. It's not bad to have a house. It's not bad to have a nice car. But the issue comes is when you start giving more time and elevating those things above the Most High. That's when it becomes an issue. So let's go to, we're going to keep it very simple. I'm not going to go deep. I'm not going to pull out any of the catalog of books and things like that. I'm just going to use a simple tool. This is Zonovan Compact Bible Dictionary, one of many dictionaries that I possess. But this is just about Zonovan. I tell everybody, for beginners, you first coming into the truth of things, know who you are. The Zonovan the Compact Bible, because you can take it everywhere you go. They have a bigger version, but this is the compact version. You can take it wherever you go. You can order it off of Walmart or Amazon for, you probably can get it for maybe $15 now, or something like that. But this is the Zonovan Compact Bible Dictionary. Excuse me. It has everything you pretty much need in here as, as a beginner with studying. So I'm going to go just look in the Zonovan Bible Dictionary, okay? And we're going to look up idolatry, all right, which is on page 239. What, 230? Yeah, 239. So I want to look at this, and I want to read. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to, I'm going to read a few things so we can look at this and kind of get an understanding. Okay. It says here, under idolatry, it says the gods, which is lowercase g, had no moral character whatsoever, and worship of them carried with it demoralizing practices, including child sacrifice, prostitution, and snake worship. Now, here's the thing. In the scriptures, when there was idol worship or idolatry, it was generally either to animals or some form of non-life form. They didn't call acknowledging someone's birth or someone living as a living soul. They didn't consider that idolatry unless you bowed and you put it above. Here's the reason, henceforth, the reason why the Romans were heavy with idolatry of all types of things. But the one great God that they never put anything over was Caesar. So Caesar, which there were many Caesars, but they were in the form of a life form of a man, they viewed him as God. No different than the Roman Catholic Church viewing the Pope as God on earth. That's when it becomes a problem. But in antiquity, in the time, in the days of what we call the Old Testament, much of that was not based upon a life form. Much of that was based upon things, creation. Remember, Paul talks about in Romans chapter number 1 that the people begin to worship the created things and not the creator. Because that was in ancient times when the Torah was written. During those times, people worshiped animals, people sacrificed their children, people worshiped all kinds of things, elements, everything. They didn't worship man as much as they did the created things. So it's very important to understand that, okay? It says here, human and animal images of the deities were worshipped. See, listen at humans and animal, let's read that again. And human and animal images, which means that they would not specifically worship the man that it has life. They would actually erect a statue of that man and worship it. Henceforth, Nebuchadnezzar did the same thing. Nebuchadnezzar didn't stand there and tell Israel to bow to him. Nebuchadnezzar created a statue and told the people to bow to the statue while he was alive. While he was alive. So for anybody trying to tell you, oh, if you celebrate your birthday, that's idolatry. You're being idolatrous. That is a lie. Ask them from that point, okay, show me in Torah where it says that I cannot celebrate a birthday. Oh, what is idolatrous? How is it idolatrous? Do you see anybody around me bowing to me? Do you see anybody here elevating me above the Most High in any form of worship? No. That is somebody who has a personal preference or someone actually who lacks the Ruach. And they're trying to find any and everything. There's a whole lot of things that we can say that is wrong, that's not found in scripture, that people do every single day, including the camps, including people who are against it. Every single day. Every single day. And you can't take just a couple of bad situations in the scripture by people who were lawless, okay? By people who were lawless. Now, I guess you can't know, you according to them, you can't celebrate a wedding anniversary either. So many of these people live their lives miserable, and they want to try to spy out our liberty. We're not violating Torah, but they want to spot out. They want to spy out our liberties and take our liberty away because they are miserable. Most of these people that you talk to who are against it, they don't even worship. Let me tell you something. Majority of these folks, they don't even worship. They don't even have worship in their assemblies. The people walk in, get scanned by a metal detector, go sit down, and barely pray. If they do, barely, and they open up the text and they just study. That's all they do. They have no worship life. They have nothing. They have zero. And if they have no worship life, and their study life supersedes everything, they are not getting any interpretation because the Ruach is not going to give them any of that. So that's why people have these issues, because they don't worship and they take on man's understanding of things. And here's another issue for y'all sisters. Here's another thing. Y'all are so codependent upon your husband teaching you to the point where you don't even open the Bible for yourself unless he opened the Bible and he tells you what's in the Bible. You have full responsibility, because on Judgment Day, your husband is not going to stand with you. Your husband will not stand for you. Your husband cannot take on your sins on him and get you a pass. He is not the Redeemer. He can't do that. And that is prevalent within Israel. And not only that, I mean, it's prevalent within Israel. It's some growing up. I grew up Baptist, so it was kind of heavy in the Baptist church as well. But it's prevalent within Israel. Refusing to study to show yourself. He wasn't talking to the man when he say study to show you. No, he was talking to mankind. Specifically Israel, but it was the women's responsibility as well. It's everyone's responsibility. Because here's the thing, sisters, you cannot even teach your children if you don't have an understanding by the Spirit, not by your husband, by the Spirit. Now, that doesn't mean that you can usurp authority over him, but you still have a responsibility to know the scriptures like him. And if he is incorrect, you have a responsibility to be a righteous woman and show your husband, okay, hey, I heard what you said here, but let's look at it this. What does this say? Don't be disrespectful about it. At the same time, you have a right to sit there. If you see that he is in error, if there's no brothers around, okay, because it's best to at least go to a brother and talk to the brother and say, hey, this is what I found. What do you think about this? Can you, it's about being respectable, because you don't want to cause any chaos. But if there's no brothers around, then you have the opportunity to be able to say, hey, listen, because you are heirs together, even though your husband is still the head, you still rule together. And you can still be able to go to your husband and say, hey, this doesn't sound right. Let's look at it this way so we can get an understanding. Because it's all about us getting an understanding, not just, oh, your perspective, because you're going to be held accountable. Your husband will send you to hell if he's in error and you just following with it, especially when you know it's wrong. Now, if you're ignorant to it, that's another thing. But if you know it's wrong, you going to hell too. All right, so let's read. Let's look here. So that's what that was about, dealing with idolatry. Now let's look at a couple of scriptures. And I want to show you that even in the Bible, it was keeping time. Understand there's a balance on how you submit to your husband. Watch this. Absolutely, Sister Rose. So let's look at this. In order to remember or celebrate or acknowledge a birthday, there has to be a counting of time. There has to be a counting of birth, of time. In the scriptures, they were counting time. They were, how can the Most High says that my spirit will no longer dwell with man, Genesis 6:3, that my spirit will no longer dwell with man forever, so he will only live to see 120 years old. Now, how in the world can somebody know what their age is And they're living to see 120 years old unless they're counting their age. How would you, I mean, come on. If you're counting years is no different than counting age. That's why people have the end of the age, the end of this, because even the earth has a birth date. And the earth has also a day that it is set to die, which means that the Most High said that there will be a new heaven and new earth. So this earth that we're on has a death date, no different than every man has a death date. Every man is born to die. I mean, every man has a date to die. The scripture teaches that. You're born and you have a day to die. The earth is created and it also has a date that it will die. And there will be a new heaven and a new earth. I mean, there will be a birthing of a new heaven and a new earth. So that's pretty much what it is. So there was counting of time that was going on throughout throughout the biblical time. People had to know what year it was and know what seasons it was if they were not, unless you counting time. You have to know the seasons you're in to count time. And most of our forefathers was examining the stars and watching the solar to understand what the seasons were. Even, let me tell you something, even our feasts, we count the seasons and the times to know what the feasts are. We're celebrating feasts. Now, these are commanded by the Most High, even though you can't find in the scriptures where it says, you know, keep your birthday, or you can't find in there where it says don't keep your birthday. So it's one of those things that you have to use common sense. Okay, if I'm going to celebrate my birthday, okay, if I'm going to celebrate my birthday and honor that, I have to do it in a righteous way to where it doesn't violate the Torah, nor does it make me a deity. That's using common sense. It's some things that the Most High don't have to tell us that we can use common sense about. It's just common sense. It's nowhere in there where it says about anniversaries, wedding anniversaries, and all these other things. Okay? There's nowhere in there. And to be honest with you, there are only 3 feasts that we're commanded to keep. Commanded to celebrate. All the other ones, we do it. We just like New Year's, like the Hebraic New Year. There ain't nowhere in the Torah that tell us to acknowledge that. But guess what? Every year y'all talking about Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Every year around Abib, between March and April, the end of March, the beginning of April, y'all screaming Happy New Year. Y'all honor that. Y'all celebrate that. That ain't nowhere in the Torah that says keep that. So if based on your logic, if you believe that celebrating a birthday is idolatry, then you have made New Year's an idol. See how that works? And our people in bondage. Israel is in so much bondage, it don't make no sense. You would think, and here's the sad part. People leave the Christian church and they looking from the outside and they think that it's better here. And when they come over here, they find that they're in more of a mess than it was before. They thought everybody on the same page. I get so many people that come to me and tell me, man, I thought, hey, shalom, Brother Mill. Man, I thought, when I first came in, I thought Israel, I thought everybody was on the same doctrine, because they viewing it from the outside. Especially those who haven't encountered the feud between everybody, between all these different doctrines and stuff. What's going on, Big Bros? So they like, oh man, look at that awesome amount of unity. That's what draws people. Most people aren't drawn by the Ruach into this understanding of being an Israelite. Most people look at it the same way when the height of the Nation of Islam was growing during the time of Malcolm X. They look at the unity and the strength of the men and how they want. That's why IUIC, all right, that's why IUIC, they've developed the model of the Nation of Islam. I want y'all to remember IUIC had like 800 men. They was marching through the city of New Orleans. I'm not New Orleans, but Memphis. Man, the celebrities, T.I. and everybody else was showing this is what strength in black men look like. This is what unity look like. This is what brotherhood look like. Go back and look at Malcolm X. Go back and look at the documentary or the movie, all right? Any one of them, especially the movie. Go look at the scene when Brother Johnson was beat up by the police, and them brothers from the Nation of Islam came down there and stood in front of the prison, stood in front of the jail, and he asked, well, who are the men? Those are brothers of Brother Johnson. We coming to check to see if he all right. And they saw them brothers marching through the streets. You know how many people became a Muslim? Not for doctrinal purposes, but because they saw the unity in black men. IUIC did the same thing. And they did the same thing as a mechanism to be able to get more people, because they started losing numbers. And that's what people see over here. They see all the unity and all the brotherhood. Then when they get in here, they find out that none of us are on the same page. Then you start going through, man, I'll just go back where I came from. Until you realize and find out that there are disciples of the Pharisees and there are disciples of Christ. Oh, there are true disciples that are in the truth. But it's a whole lot of them that are not. And so it's very important that we look at this and get an understanding about this. People are tripping and are creating things that have nothing to do. If you're going to say celebrating a birthday is idol worship, then you celebrating New Year's and all these other feasts that the Most High didn't command us that are priority to do, you're making them idols. You're making them idols. And this is the thing that we have to protect the babes from. We have to protect babes who are converts. And I'm telling you, the reason why we're going through this, and this reason why it's in a private group, because you know what? The only people that I'm responsible for is Boom. Everybody else, I'm not responsible for what everybody else teach. But I have an obligation. We have our assignment as believers of one Messiah. We have our assignment. Our assignment is not to teach the gospel of Israel. Our assignment is to teach the gospel and the kingdom of Yah while being Israelites. That is what our assignment is. And we talk all the time, and many of you, I'll have many of you. Eventually, we'll have conversation. And I'm gonna let you. We talk about this all the time. It's hard. Let me tell y'all something. Now, this not to be boastful. Excuse me. I don't want you to be prideful. It's hard being a part of Boom as an Israelite. I'm just gonna tell you. And some people who understand what I'm saying, they know what we're talking about. But for those who don't and hearing this for the first time, we are so beyond heritage. Let me tell y'all something. We are so beyond heritage. We are so resolved in being Israelites. We don't even hardly talk about being an Israelite. That's how we're told. That's how it is. Let me tell you, you don't see Paul and them in the scriptures harboring talking about their Israel. At some point, you should get to a point to where you have matured so much in the spirit. That is an elementary conversation. We ain't talking about no doggone Deuteronomy 28 and all this other stuff. We so beyond Deuteronomy 28. That is for the babes. Hey, Shalom, daughter, what's going on? That is for the babes. That is for the babes. Deuteronomy 28 is for babes. I don't even use Deuteronomy 28 to prove I'm an Israelite. Matter of fact, I don't even care if you don't even accept being an Israelite. I want you to keep this Torah. That's what I want you to keep this Torah. I want you to keep a Mashiach, and I want you to understand that you have free will and don't abuse his grace. That's it. Because ain't nobody getting in the kingdom knowing they're Israelite. That ain't getting you in. We are so beyond that foolishness. It's hard to deal. It's hard to be a part of Boom. People come over here. They come out of camps or other ministries where all they talk about being Israel. They come over here. They're like, are y'all real Israelites? Yeah, I don't never hear y'all teaching. We want to grow so much in the Ruach, so much in the spirit. We want to be in his presence. That's all. That's what we're about. We're about being in his presence. We ain't about all that other stuff. We ain't about all that other stuff. We ain't arguing with nobody. We ain't doing nothing. We're not on that stuff. People come up, and that's what I tell people, don't listen. If they're supposed to be a part of Boom, they will endure. They'll make it. We're not, let me tell you something. You come over here, we're not changing nothing for you. We're not changing your ways. We ain't arguing about no calendars. While everybody else out there doing arguing about what's the right calendar and all that stuff, we don't care about no calendar. We care about honoring the Most High. That's all we care about. Honoring him. He know the calendar's jacked up. He know it's 50 million calendars. We're not on that type of stuff, talking about no calendars. We ain't arguing about all that other stuff. We ain't getting caught up in no name. See, when you done grew beyond all that other stuff, you ain't arguing about what his real name is. You know he a spirit. And you know that he got a name in the earth because people in the earth got to call him by a name. Everybody got a name. When you're born in the earth, you got a name. If you talking to somebody, you talk to a person and you call them by their name. But we know that the Most High Spirit. So we are following after the priesthood of Melchizedek, not after the priesthood of Levi. See, and most of y'all know about Melchizedek. Melchizedek priesthood is greater than the Levitical priesthood. And many of us at Boom, we know our DNA. We got our heritage. We know that we Levites. But we know that there is a greater priesthood that the Levites got to bow to that was before the Levites and was greater than the Levites. Let me get back on my point. Y'all got me running, but I had to deal with that. Somebody need to hear that. We are beyond that. So you're going to always have 10 people come in the assembly, come in the Boom, and 3 people stay and 7 leave. You know why? Because we ain't counting numbers, and everybody that's supposed to be a part, we know that the Most High sent them there. We don't even, let me tell y'all something. I'm going to end it on this. And those of y'all know, and I'm going to get back to the lesson, give you a couple scriptures. We don't even ask people to join Boom. Folks will tell you, most of y'all don't have been with us from the beginning. When people come be a part of Boom, we don't ask people to join Boom. We don't even have no call to the who want to be a part of Boom. You know, if you want to be a member of this church, we don't do that. If you were sent to Boom, you're gonna dwell with us. You're gonna dwell with us. And I tell people all the time, if you want to make it a public declaration, then you say it. You tell the people. Because if you lying, you're going to look bad, not me. If you say the Most High sent you here and the Most High said this is the place for you to be, the Most High if it ain't in your heart and the Most High never told you that, he is going to prove you out to be a liar. You're never going to see Moray saying, y'all come on up here and who want to join Boom. No, we don't say that. We don't say that. We're not looking for numbers. We want quality over quantity. Now let's get back to this. Let's get back to this. All right. So let's go to Genesis chapter number 21. And we're gonna go to Genesis 21 and deal with this real quick. All right. Genesis 21. Yeah, it's hard to be a part of Boom, boy. They ain't tripping over the name. They ain't tripping over all this stuff. Man, they ain't tripping over no fringes, no head wraps. We gonna get into that head wrap stuff too. Because folks done made that a dog. Half of this stuff is traditions, man. And half of this stuff, people don't even understand the scriptures. Half of this stuff don't know the difference between law and an opinion. I'm telling you, Israel jacked up, man. They don't know the difference between a law and an opinion. And that's the problem. They're making opinions laws. That stuff crazy. Come on, man. Let's get this. Genesis chapter number 21. All right, verse number 1. Let's end this birthday thing. All right, let's look at this. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time. There go time again. Somebody counting. Somebody's counting time. And if you counting time, you counting age. Okay? So let's deal with it. All right. Verse number 2. At the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old. So wait a minute. They counting birth, they counting dates? How he know he 8? Somebody counting a date, which means somebody counting birth dates, years. If he's 8 days old, okay, they counting. They counting dates, time, and years. Okay, let's keep reading. All right. And Abraham was 100 years old. How they know Abraham 100? Can somebody explain to me, how do they know Abraham 100? And how do they know that Isaac is 8? Somebody counting time. Somebody saying, Abraham, today you are 100 years old. So somebody counting time. Come on, let's read. 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. So what is he talking about? Everybody that hear will laugh with her. Is she talking about folks gathering with her to laugh? Is this a gathering? Is she said, let me read that again. Verse number 6. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. It sounds like a group of people gathering. Don't a group of people gather on birthdays? It sounds like a group of people gathering to me. Somebody counting time, and it's folks gathering. Let's keep reading. Verse number 7. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him in his old age. Verse number 8. And the child grew. Wait a minute, who counting time? How they know he grew? Huh? He grew. And the child grew. Come on, let's keep reading. Somebody count some birthdays going on. And the child grew. And the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast. Wait a minute, hold on. Abraham made a great feast. Now, if you understand the time of weaning, when a child is weaned off of the breast, that's around 13 years old, or close to 13, around 12 to 13 years old. Okay? So something going on here. Hold on real quick, y'all. Hold on. All right, y'all, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had a call come in that I had to take. All right, so I hope everybody's back. If you back, say I'm back. All right, so let's look at here. In verse number 8, it says, and the child grew and was weaned. All right, so the child was around 13 years old, 12 to 13 years old, and Abraham made a great feast. So Abraham is making a great feast around the time of a birthday, or a date of birth of when the child is to come off the breast. So Abraham done had a feast. Sarah got a crowd. They are celebrating the weaning off of the 13th birthday of his son. This is what this is. And folks don't get it. They just don't get it. Come on, let's read. All right, so I'm going to end right there. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to Luke chapter number 1. Luke chapter number 1. All right. Everybody with me? Everybody with me? I hope everybody's still there. Luke chapter number 1. Let's look Luke chapter number 1 and verse number 57. Luke 1 and 57. Let's look at this. Luke 1 and 57. It says, now Elizabeth, full time came that she should be delivered. And she brought forth a son. Here go another son again. A son is being born. Let's see what's going on while this son being born. And her neighbors and her cousins heard how the Lord had showed great mercy upon her, and they rejoiced with her. It sounds like somebody is celebrating the birth of John the Baptist. No, they ain't having no birthday party. They ain't having no birthday party made. Come on, Moray. You talking crazy. They ain't having no birthday. Let me read it again. Luke chapter number 1 and verse number 57. Now Elizabeth full time came that she should be delivered, and she brought forth a son. And her neighbors and her cousins heard how the Lord had showed great mercy upon her, and they rejoiced with her. They rejoiced with her. Sound like a whole bunch of people gathering to celebrate a birthday to me. No different when people show up when a person that delivers a child in the hospital, and they bring balloons and they bring gifts and stuff like that at the hospital once the child is born. So miss me with all this foolishness, because it's in the scriptures. Come on, let's read. Let's go to Matthew chapter number 2. Let's go to Matthew chapter number 2. Matthew chapter number 2, starting at verse 9. When they heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star. Now these are the wise men, which they saw in the east, went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced and rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, first of all, why they come into the house? What they coming for? Why are these wise men, why are they coming? And notice I didn't say 3 wise men. The Bible don't say 3 wise men. Why are they coming to anyway? You know why they coming? Do you know why these wise men are traveling from distant lands? You know why they coming? Because they seen that star, and you know what that star symbolized? The birth of a child. So you know what they was doing? The birth of the Messiah. Ain't nobody else have a star. John the Baptist ain't had no star. You know why they was coming? Not only to rejoice, but to celebrate the birth of the new king, or the birth of the king, the Savior. That's why they was coming. They were coming because of that. Now, all that Christmas stuff, all that type of stuff, we know dates and times. We know around this time, it teaches us that he was born around the springtime when the shepherds was in the field. Now that Christmas stuff, we don't know no date on that. We don't know no December 25th on that. It don't say nothing about no December 25th on that. Okay? It don't say nothing about that. All right? It don't say none of that. So that you can't use this as a means to celebrating Christmas, December 25th. Talking about you celebrating his birthday and all that type of stuff. We ain't getting into all that type of stuff. Plus, it's paganism attached to that foolishness. And you don't, and matter of fact, you don't even honor it in the way that a true pagan would anyway. You honoring, you don't put the Christmas tree above him. You don't put the gifts above him. It ain't even about him. It's about Christmas gifts and toys and all that Santa Claus. That don't even got nothing to do with him. How the way you honoring him? That's pagan. That's wicked in itself. At least if you're going to honor him, honor him. How did you inject trees and gifts and toys and Santa Claus? How did you even inject that in there? How can you even compare that to him? Come on, man. This stuff, folks need to stop this stuff. So let's go back. Let's finish up here. Okay. Let's look at this here. Verse number 10. When they saw the star, they rejoiced in exceedingly great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshiped him. Now, none of us can't be worshiped like that. because we ain't God. So we can't be worshiped like that. So when we have our birthdays, ain't nobody coming to bow down to us. Ain't nobody coming to honor us above the Most High. No, we come to celebrate with you for another year of life that you have to be able to serve the Most High. That's what it's about for us. Now, I don't know about nobody else and how they do their thing. I see folk be having stripper parties and they going to the club, they drinking, have a bar full of drinks, and they getting wasted and tore up. That ain't righteous. That is not righteous. So that has nothing to do with the Most High. That has nothing to do with the Most High. All right, we almost done here. Let's close this out with this verse. So look what it says. They fell down and worshiped him, and when they had opened their treasures, wait a minute, they what? Wait a minute, don't tell me they brought gifts. No, you can't have no gifts. You can't have, that's idol worship. That's pagan. You can't have no gifts. You can't have no gifts for first of all, you celebrating the birthday, that's wicked. And then you turn around and bring in gifts? I know doggone where these wise men, I know these wise men ain't come to celebrate his birth and they brought gifts. But y'all want to talk about this wicked. Y'all want to say it's idolatry. Man, anybody that's telling you that, they are wicked. They wicked. They wicked, man. So then you got to explain to me why these wise men are revered as wise, but they doing stuff that's foolish. You got to explain that to me. Come on, let's read here. Look what it says. It says, and when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts. I'm done. I'm going to close the book. 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 I'm not even going to read no more. I'm not even going to read no more. They done showed up to the birthday party, and the scriptures say they open up their treasures and they presented gifts. I'm done. You ain't got to tell me nothing else. Anybody else talking about, I'm telling you, don't be listening to these crazy folk out here. These folks, they are so obsessed by the letter of the law till they miss the spirit behind the law. That's what I'm saying. They missed the spirit behind the law. The law was not created for you to be in bondage. The law was not created for you to add on to it. The law was given as a guide of how to be an example in the earth of the Most High. Because your responsibility is to show others how to worship him and how to walk in this. This is why Yeshua came and gave us a gate up. That's why he said, I'm going to fulfill it. That don't mean I'm going to destroy it. That don't mean I'm going to do away with it. I mean, I'm going to bring it to completion to show you, to give you an example of what it looks like to walk in the law. To walk in the law by the Spirit, not by the flesh. Because all the teachers and the examples that you had before you, they didn't get it. They started adding to my law. They started making the law carnal. They started making it ritualistic. So now I got to come, who gave the law, I got to be an example to show you how to walk in the law. Because when I spoke the law, I spoke it in spirit. So now let me show you how to walk it out in the spirit. And that's what people miss. That's what people miss. They miss it. I'm telling y'all, man. I'm telling y'all. It take a special kind, man. Again, we're not great. I'm not saying we're better than anybody. But one thing I will tell you is this. We know the Most High. And not only do we know the Most High, but the Most High know us. And not only do he know us, but we also have the fruit to prove that the Most High is with us. I don't care. One thing I always, Lord, don't take your spirit and don't take your presence from us. If we don't have his presence and we don't have his spirit, we have nothing, y'all. We have nothing. We have zero. And in order to do the great works, in order to heal the sick, in order to do all these things being used, then we have to dedicate ourselves to prayer. We have to dedicate ourselves to fasting. We have to dedicate ourselves to the spirit. We have to dedicate ourselves to listening, because the Most High be talking to us. But yet we so caught up in everything else, we don't hear him. We don't hear him. And he's trying to speak. He's speaking to us through everything, because he speaks in the earth. He speaks in the earth. he pours out his spirit. He said, I'm going to pour out my spirit upon sons and daughters, and they shall prophesy. Meaning that when he pour out his spirit, we have to be able to hear him in every frequency there is. TV, radio, Facebook Live, all these different things. We have to be able to hear him, even in our sleep. Sometimes he has to visit us in our sleep to give us a vision, because we're going so much during the day to where we don't even have time. We're not even paying him no attention while he's talking to us. So it's important to us to really understand that if you don't have the spirit, you have nothing. You have nothing. You cannot even get an interpretation of what you're studying without the spirit. It is the spirit that gives you the revelation of what you study. That's why I always tell you, your study life should not supersede your prayer life. Your prayer life has to rule. And people are even making studying an idol. People have made the Bible an idol because the only time you want to study it is to prove people wrong. You make the Bible an idol. If the only time you study the Bible is to show how much you know and to show how much somebody else don't and to prove people wrong, you have missed it. And you've made the Bible an idol. And people can't do that. Y'all have a blessed one. I hope this lesson helped you. I hope this thing helped. We're going to touch on pants. Is it lawful for women to wear pants? We're going to deal with the head wraps. Is that an opinion or is that law? We're going to deal with all this stuff. We're going to deal with all this stuff. I'm telling you, we're going to make sure that we have the scholarship that we need of the kingdom in boom. One thing people ain't going to be able to do to us, to our sisters or our brothers, we're going to make sure we're equipped. We're going to make sure we're equipped. Hey, shalom, Sister Shantae. We're going to make sure we are equipped. And here's the thing. We're not going to be out here debating with everybody. When you see people, when you see people posting stuff and they arguing, don't get into that stuff. Do not be going on people's posts, arguing with people, because that's not your assignment. That ain't your assignment. Your assignment ain't to be out here arguing with other people and all this other stuff. I see all kind of stuff on Facebook that is incorrect doctrinally, and I don't even go on them people's posts. Because first of all, it's Facebook. That's their page. At the top of Facebook, it says, when you getting ready to write a post, it says what is on your mind. It don't say what's on everybody else's mind. It say what is on your mind, which means whatever you post, that is your opinion. Even though it may not be true, I'm not going on your post. Unless you're a part of Boom, and I will hit you up in the inbox. I'll hit you up in, hey man, what's that is? That ain't, you sure that's right? You might need to look at that. You might look at that. All that other stuff them people doing, stay off. Stop arguing with these folks. Stop arguing with these folks. We're going to maximize our lane and our calling, and we're going to ride in it. Hey, look, I ain't got time for that stuff. But we're going to be equipped. Not only are we going to know Hebrew history, but we're going to know church history too. Because in order to be a defender of the gospel, in order to be an evangelist, in order to proclaim this truth, you got to know how this stuff started, where it came from. You got to know the difference between Catholicism, Gnosticism, and Hebrewism, and Protestantism. You need to learn all this stuff. Because in order for you to be equipped, then you'll understand. That's why I've been posting this stuff, and we're doing a lesson on tomorrow, and I'm going to see, we may end up doing a live on it. In this same group for tomorrow in the service, we're going to be dealing with this church history to show you the difference between the two churches. The first century church, pre-Calvin, Luther, pre-Catholicism. And we're going to show you what the Gentiles and the Israelites, how they were living. They were living the same when it came down to keeping the Torah. And came down to understanding what Hamashiach came to do. There was no difference with that. People didn't look at color as much. They determined you was a Gentile or a pagan by the customs you keep. And so we have made this a color thing. We've instituted all this stuff about color and race. That's all that secular stuff. That's not biblical. Because I can even show you. I can show you some non-melanin Nazarites that were also considered Israel. And they were non-melanin. Matter of fact, it was a lot of them that were non-melanin, that were Israelites. So all this other stuff, we gotta get past. This stuff is clouding our understanding. It's clouding us and be able to receive the totality. Now, we are the Israelites. We are the Israelites. But at the same time, the Most High don't want you to care more about being an Israelite than you are caring about following his instructions. Because it's going to be a whole lot of Israelites going to hell. And it's going to be a whole lot of non-Israelites getting the kingdom. And I end with that. Shalom. I love you all. Blessings to you.